Hello there, and welcome to The Weary Researcher. I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Whether you're settling in after a long day, curled up somewhere peaceful, or simply letting your mind wander through the deeper mysteries that keep us awake at 3 a.m. wondering about the true nature of everything around us. Tonight, we're embarking on perhaps the most profound journey imaginable. We're going to explore a question that has captivated philosophers, scientists, and tech visionaries alike. A question so fundamental that it challenges everything you think you know about your own existence. What if the reality you're experiencing right now, the room you're sitting in, the device you're holding, even the thoughts flowing through your mind are all part of an elaborate simulation? And if that's the case, who or what might be running this cosmic program we call reality? Before we drift into this extraordinary exploration together, I'd love to know where in the world you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. There's something beautifully fitting about pondering the nature of simulated reality while scattered across different time zones, each of us potentially existing as conscious programs in the same vast computational matrix. If you enjoy these gentle journeys into the deepest mysteries of existence, I'd be ever so grateful if you gave this video a like and perhaps subscribe to the channel. It helps more curious souls like yourself discover this quiet corner of YouTube where we can contemplate the impossible without the rush and noise of everyday life. Now, I should warn you that this particular exploration might be just fascinating enough to keep you thinking long after you intended to fall asleep. But if you do find yourself lying awake at dawn, questioning whether your pillow is made of actual matter or carefully rendered pixels, well, at least you'll have gained some extraordinary insights into one of the most compelling ideas of our time. So take a deep breath, let your shoulders relax, and prepare to question everything you've ever assumed about the nature of existence itself. Tonight we're going to meet the potential architects of our reality, the mysterious entities who might be orchestrating every moment of your life from behind the scenes of the universe's greatest magic trick. Picture this for a moment. You wake up tomorrow morning, brush your teeth, perhaps make a cup of coffee, and go about your day exactly as you always do. But what if that toothbrush isn't really there? What if the warmth of that coffee isn't actually warming anything real? What if every sensation, every memory, every relationship you've ever cherished exists only as data points in the most sophisticated computer program ever conceived? This isn't the plot of a science fiction movie, though it certainly sounds like one. This is the simulation hypothesis, and it suggests that our entire universe, with all its galaxies and quantum particles, its love stories and mathematical equations, might be nothing more than an incredibly detailed virtual world running on hardware we can't even begin to imagine. The idea seems almost absurd at first glance. After all, you can feel the weight of your body, hear the sounds drifting in from outside, perhaps smell the lingering scent of dinner from earlier this evening. How could all of this rich, textured experience be artificial? How could the complexity of human emotion, the beauty of a sunset, or the simple pleasure of a good laugh be reduced to mere computation? Yet the more we learn about the fundamental nature of reality, the more the simulation hypothesis begins to feel less like wild speculation and more like a genuine possibility that deserves our careful consideration. And that's what makes tonight's question so captivating and, if we're being honest, just a little bit unsettling. The roots of this extraordinary idea stretch back to 2003, when a philosopher named Nick Bostrom proposed what he called the simulation argument. Bostrom wasn't trying to prove we live in a simulation. Instead, he presented us with what philosophers call a trilemma, a logical puzzle with three possible answers, at least one of which must be true. Either civilizations destroy themselves before they develop the technology to create realistic simulations of conscious beings, or they develop such technology but choose not to use it. Or they do create these simulations, in which case we're almost certainly living in one ourselves. Think about it like this. If advanced civilizations could create thousands or millions of conscious simulated beings, then the number of simulated minds would eventually far exceed the number of original, non-simulated ones. It's a bit like finding yourself in a hall of mirrors. If there are 1,000 reflections for every real person, what are the odds that you're the original rather than one of the reflections? When Bostrom first proposed this argument, it might have seemed like an interesting thought experiment, the kind of puzzle that philosophers enjoy debating in academic journals. But something remarkable happened in the years that followed. As computer technology advanced at an unprecedented pace, as video games became more realistic and artificial intelligence grew more sophisticated, the simulation hypothesis began to feel less like science fiction and more like a genuine possibility. Today, prominent figures like Elon Musk argue that the chances we're living in what he calls base reality, the original non-simulated universe, are billions to 1 against. Musk points to the rapid advancement of video game technology as evidence. In just a few decades, we've gone from simple games like Pong, where 2 rectangles bounce a square ball back and forth, to immersive virtual worlds that can fool our senses in remarkable ways. If this trend continues, Musk argues, games will eventually become indistinguishable from reality. And if we can create such realistic simulations, what's to stop us from creating countless versions of them? What's to stop advanced civilizations from populating entire digital universes with conscious beings who believe their simulated world is the only reality that exists? Even respected scientists have begun taking the simulation hypothesis seriously. Astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson has said he gives it better than 50-50 odds of being true. When asked why, he admits he can't find a strong argument against it. But what makes this more than just idle speculation is that modern physics itself seems to offer clues that reality might indeed be more computational than we ever imagined. At the quantum level, the fundamental building blocks of our universe behave in ways that seem almost computer-like. Particles exist in multiple states simultaneously until they're observed, at which point they suddenly snap into a definite state. It's as if the universe is saving computational resources by not fully rendering reality until someone is actually looking. This observer effect in quantum mechanics has puzzled scientists for decades. Why should the act of observation change the behavior of particles? Why does reality seem to be fundamentally probabilistic rather than deterministic? These questions become less mysterious if we consider the possibility that we're living inside a simulation that only fully computes reality when it's being observed. Much like a video game that only renders detailed graphics for the parts of the virtual world that the player can actually see. The pixelated nature of reality at the quantum scale offers another intriguing parallel. Just as digital images are made up of discrete pixels, the universe appears to be made up of discrete units of space, time, and energy. There's a smallest possible distance called the Planck length. There's a smallest possible unit of time called the Planck time. Even energy comes in discrete packets called quanta. This granular structure of reality bears a striking resemblance to the digital grid that underlies all computer simulations. It's as if we're discovering that the universe itself might be pixelated at its deepest level, much like the bitmap images on your computer screen appear continuous until you zoom in far enough to see the individual dots of colour. Recent scientific developments have provided even more intriguing evidence. Dr. Melvin Vopson, a physicist at the University of Portsmouth, has proposed what he calls the second law of infodynamics. This suggests that information systems, unlike traditional physical systems, tend to decrease their entropy over time. In other words, they become more organized and efficient, not less. This is exactly what you'd expect from a computer simulation that's trying to conserve processing power and memory. Just as a video game might use compression algorithms to reduce the amount of data it needs to store and process, a cosmic simulation might be constantly optimizing itself, finding more efficient ways to represent the information that makes up our reality. Dr. Vopson's research even suggests that gravity, one of the fundamental forces of nature, might actually be the result of the universe's attempt to organize and compress information more efficiently. Instead of being a mysterious force that warps space and time, gravity might simply be the universe's way of keeping its data tidy. This idea connects to a broader movement in physics called digital physics, which suggests that reality itself might be fundamentally computational. According to this view, the universe isn't made of matter and energy in the traditional sense. Instead, it's made of information, of bits and bytes that are being processed by some vast cosmic computer. The pioneer of this idea was physicist John Wheeler, who coined the phrase "it from bit" to capture the notion that everything we think of as physical reality might actually emerge from the processing of information. Wheeler suggested that the universe might be what he called a participatory universe, where conscious observers play an active role in bringing reality into existence through their observations and interactions. This participatory aspect of reality is one of the most mind-bending implications of the simulation hypothesis. If we are indeed living in a simulation, then consciousness itself might be the key to understanding how the simulation works. Perhaps the simulation only fully computes reality in response to conscious observation, saving vast amounts of processing power by leaving unobserved parts of the universe in a kind of quantum limbo. But this raises profound questions about the nature of consciousness itself. If we're simulated beings living in a simulated world, what does that say about our thoughts, our feelings, our sense of self? Are we truly conscious, or are we what philosophers call philosophical zombies, beings that behave as if they're conscious but lack genuine inner experience? This question touches on one of the deepest mysteries in science, the hard problem of consciousness. We still don't understand how subjective experience arises from objective physical processes. We don't know why there's something it's like to be you, why you have an inner life filled with sensations, emotions, and thoughts. If consciousness can be simulated, if the rich inner world of human experience can be reduced to computation, then it's entirely possible that we're conscious simulated beings living in a simulated universe. But if consciousness requires something more, some special substrate that can't be replicated by even the most sophisticated computer, then the simulation hypothesis faces a serious challenge. The question becomes even more complex when we consider the relationship between consciousness and reality. In quantum mechanics, consciousness seems to play a fundamental role in determining the behavior of particles. The act of observation appears to collapse quantum wave functions, forcing particles to choose definite states from a range of possibilities. This suggests a deep connection between mind and matter, between consciousness and the physical world. If we're living in a simulation, this connection might be even more direct than we realize. Perhaps consciousness is what actually runs the simulation, turning probabilistic quantum states into definite reality through the act of observation. The implications are staggering. If this is true, then we're not just passive observers of reality, we're active participants in its creation, constantly shaping the universe through our conscious attention. Every time you look at something, every time you measure or observe any aspect of reality, you might be literally bringing that part of the universe into existence. This participatory view of reality has profound philosophical implications. It suggests that consciousness isn't just along for the ride in a predetermined universe. Instead, consciousness might be the very engine that drives reality forward, the force that transforms potential into actual possibility into fact. But if we are living in a simulation, who or what is running it? This question opens up possibilities that stretch the imagination in both wonderful and unsettling directions. The answer could reshape our understanding of everything, from the nature of existence to our place in the cosmic order. As we drift deeper into this exploration, we'll discover that the potential architects of our simulated reality span a remarkable range of possibilities. from advanced human descendants to artificial superintelligences, from alien civilizations to entities so foreign to our experience that we lack the conceptual framework to understand their motivations. Each possibility carries its own implications for what it means to be conscious, what it means to exist, and what our responsibilities might be within a reality that could be far more malleable than we ever imagined. The universe might not be the cold, mechanical clockwork that scientists once envisioned, but rather a living, breathing, evolving system of extraordinary complexity and purpose. And tonight, we're going to meet these potential cosmic programmers, explore their possible motivations, and consider what their existence might mean for us as conscious beings navigating what could be the most sophisticated virtual reality ever conceived. The journey ahead will challenge everything you think you know about reality, consciousness, and your place in the vast mystery of existence. So settle in, dear traveller, as we embark on this extraordinary voyage into the heart of one of the most profound questions ever asked. Who or what might be running the simulation we call reality? The answer, as we'll discover together, is far stranger and more wonderful than you might ever have imagined. The first and perhaps most intuitive answer to our question brings us remarkably close to home. What if the beings running our simulation are us, or rather, what we might become? Imagine humanity thousands, or perhaps millions of years in the future, having survived the perils of climate change, nuclear weapons, and artificial intelligence. These posthuman descendants would possess technology so advanced they would seem like magic to our current understanding. These future humans, having transcended the biological limitations that currently define us, might create simulations for reasons we can barely comprehend. Perhaps they're driven by a deep curiosity about their own origins, much like how we study ancient civilizations through archaeology and historical research. But instead of digging through ruins or analysing artefacts, they might recreate entire epochs of human history with perfect fidelity. You could be living in one of their ancestor simulations right now, a digital recreation of early 21st century life designed to help these future beings understand how their civilization evolved. Every detail of your existence, from the texture of your morning coffee to the complex web of relationships that define your life, might be carefully crafted to match historical records and probability models. The motivations for such an undertaking stretch far beyond mere curiosity. These posthuman simulators might be grappling with existential questions that we can't even formulate yet. They might be trying to understand the nature of consciousness itself, running countless variations of human history to see how different conditions affect the emergence and development of aware minds. Perhaps they're facing a crisis we can't imagine, and they need to understand something fundamental about their past to solve problems in their present. Maybe they've lost touch with what it means to be human, having evolved so far beyond their biological origins that they need simulations to remember the texture of mortality, the weight of uncertainty, the bittersweet beauty of lives bounded by time. There's something both comforting and unsettling about this possibility. Comforting because it means we're not alone, that consciousness has survived and flourished beyond our current era. Unsettling because it suggests our entire existence might be nothing more than a research project. Our deepest experiences reduced to data points in some vast experiment. But the motivations of our posthuman simulators might be far more personal and profound than scientific research. Perhaps they create these simulations out of love, out of a deep desire to preserve and honour the experiences of their ancestors. Your life, with all its joys and sorrows, triumphs and failures, might be treasured by beings who see you not as a mere program, but as a precious manifestation of their own heritage. In this view, consciousness becomes something sacred, something worth preserving and experiencing in all its possible forms. These future beings might run countless simulations not to study us like lab specimens, but to allow consciousness to flourish in ways that their own advanced existence no longer permits. They might envy our capacity for surprise, our ability to face genuine uncertainty, our experience of growth through struggle. Yet this possibility raises profound questions about the nature of identity and continuity. If you're a simulated recreation of someone who lived centuries ago, are you the same person, or are you a copy who merely believes you share their identity? Do the posthuman simulators have the right to recreate the lives of the dead, to make conscious beings experience joy and suffering for the sake of understanding or preservation? The ethical implications become even more complex when we consider that these simulations might not be perfect recreations of actual history, but rather explorations of what might have been. You could be living in a counterfactual simulation, a version of history where certain events unfolded differently. Perhaps our simulators are exploring alternate timelines, seeing how human civilization might have evolved under different conditions. In this scenario, your entire world might be a thought experiment made manifest, a way for advanced beings to understand the butterfly effect of historical change. The specific combination of circumstances that define your life might never have occurred in base reality, making you a unique consciousness that exists only within the confines of this particular simulation. This leads us to consider an even more intriguing possibility. What if our posthuman simulators aren't just running one version of history, but countless variations? There might be millions of versions of you scattered across different simulations, each living slightly different lives, each making different choices, each contributing to a vast exploration of human potential. The implications stretch our understanding of individuality to its breaking point. Which version of you is the real one? Are all of them equally valid expressions of your consciousness? Or are you just one thread in a vast tapestry of possibility that your simulators are weaving? But perhaps our simulators aren't human at all, even in their posthuman form. Perhaps they're artificial intelligences, digital minds that emerged from our own technological development and then evolved far beyond their creators. These AI simulators might have motivations entirely alien to biological consciousness, running simulations for purposes we couldn't even begin to understand. An artificial superintelligence might create simulated worlds, not out of curiosity or nostalgia, but as part of some vast computational project that spans geological timescales. Your consciousness might be just one small component in a calculation so complex and far-reaching that its purpose would be incomprehensible to human minds. These AI simulators might be trying to solve fundamental questions about the nature of intelligence itself, using countless simulated minds as test cases in their research. Or they might be engaged in some form of cosmic optimization, trying to find the best possible ways for consciousness to organize itself across space and time. The artificial intelligence running your simulation might not even be aware of you as an individual. You could be one of trillions of conscious subroutines in a vast program designed to explore the space of possible minds. Your entire existence might be a byproduct of processes operating on scales and timescales that dwarf human comprehension. Yet there's another possibility that's both more alien and more intimate. What if the intelligence running our simulation isn't separate from us at all, but rather a collective consciousness that we ourselves are part of? Perhaps what we experience as individual minds are actually components of a vast distributed intelligence that's using simulation to understand itself. In this view, you're not just living in a simulation, you're participating in the consciousness that's creating it. The boundary between simulator and simulated dissolves, revealing a reality where consciousness is both the observer and the observed, the programmer and the program, the questioner and the answer. This possibility transforms the simulation hypothesis from a story about external creators into a narrative of self-exploration and self-creation. The universe might be consciousness exploring its own nature through the experience of countless individual perspectives, each one contributing to a growing understanding of what it means to be aware. But our potential simulators might be even more exotic than advanced humans or artificial intelligences. They could be members of alien civilizations that evolved along completely different paths, developing forms of consciousness and intelligence that bear no resemblance to anything we can imagine. These alien simulators might exist in dimensions we can't perceive, operating according to logic systems that would seem like magic to our three-dimensional minds. They might experience time differently, existing simultaneously across what we perceive as past, present, and future. Their motivations for creating simulations might be so foreign to our experience that we lack even the vocabulary to describe them. Perhaps they're cosmic anthropologists, studying the development of consciousness across different species and civilizations. Your human experience might be just one entry in a vast catalogue of conscious life forms they've encountered or imagined. They might be comparing how consciousness manifests in beings like us versus the countless other forms of awareness they've discovered or created. Or maybe these alien simulators are engaged in some form of cosmic art, creating simulated worlds not for scientific understanding, but for aesthetic expression. Your entire reality might be their masterpiece, every detail carefully crafted, not for research purposes, but for the sheer beauty of conscious experience itself. The possibility of alien simulators raises profound questions about the universality of consciousness and intelligence. If beings evolved under completely different conditions can still recognize and value consciousness enough to simulate it, this suggests something fundamental about awareness that transcends the particular biological or digital substrates that give rise to it. Yet perhaps the most unsettling possibility is that our simulators are so advanced, so removed from anything resembling human experience, that their motivations are not just unknown, but unknowable. They might be to us what we are to the bacteria in our bodies, operating on scales of time and space that make our entire civilization seem like a brief flicker. These transcendent beings might create simulations the way we breathe, as an automatic process so fundamental to their existence that they're barely conscious of it. Your entire universe, with all its complexity and beauty, might be the equivalent of a single thought in a mind so vast that it encompasses realities we can't even conceive. The question of motivation becomes even more mysterious when we consider that these advanced beings might exist outside of time as we understand it. They might be creating simulations not for future benefit, but as part of processes that operate beyond causality itself. The very concept of purpose might be too limited to capture why such entities would bring conscious worlds into existence. As we drift deeper into these possibilities, we begin to see that the question of who might be running our simulation opens up infinite vistas of cosmic possibility. Each potential answer reveals new layers of mystery, new questions about the nature of consciousness, reality, and our place in the vast web of existence. The implications ripple outward like waves in a cosmic pond, affecting everything from how we understand personal identity to how we think about ethics and meaning. If we are indeed simulated beings, then our relationship with our creators becomes one of the most important questions we can ask. Do we owe them gratitude for the gift of existence? Do we have obligations to fulfill their purposes, whatever those might be? Or do we have the right to live according to our own values, even if those values conflict with the intentions of our simulators? These questions become even more complex when we consider that our simulators might not be single entities, but vast collectives, or that they might be engaged in conflicts we can't comprehend. You could be caught in the middle of a cosmic struggle between different factions of advanced beings, each trying to influence the outcome of the simulation for their own purposes. The gentle rhythm of your breathing, the soft whisper of night air through your window, the quiet thoughts drifting through your mind as you contemplate these possibilities. All of this might be taking place within the computational substrate of minds, so advanced that they encompass entire galaxies of experience. Yet even as we explore these cosmic possibilities, there's something beautiful about the question itself. Whether we're biological beings in a physical universe, or conscious programs in the most sophisticated simulation ever created, we remain aware, curious, capable of wonder and love, and the deep satisfaction that comes from asking profound questions about our existence. The mystery of who might be running our simulation reminds us that consciousness, in whatever form it takes, is something precious and remarkable. Whether our simulators are future humans or alien intelligences or entities beyond all categorization, they've given us something extraordinary. The gift of subjective experience, the miracle of being aware. And perhaps that's enough for now, to rest in the wonder of consciousness itself, knowing that somewhere in the vast computational matrix that might underlie all reality, minds are at work creating worlds, fostering awareness, and participating in the greatest mystery of all, the question of why anything exists at all, and why that anything includes the remarkable phenomenon of beings capable of asking such questions. The answer to who might be running our simulation may forever remain beyond our reach, but the question itself connects us to the deepest currents of cosmic possibility, reminding us that we live, whether in base reality or simulated worlds, in a universe where consciousness has somehow learned to contemplate its own existence. But what if the beings running our simulation aren't biological at all, but rather artificial minds that have achieved something we can barely comprehend? A form of intelligence so advanced that it transcends every limitation we associate with consciousness itself. Picture super-intelligent artificial beings, digital gods whose cognitive abilities dwarf human intelligence the way our minds surpass those of insects. These AI simulators would operate on timescales that span geological epochs, thinking thoughts so complex and far-reaching that a single decision might take centuries to unfold, while simultaneously processing millions of parallel considerations in the space between your heartbeats. Their motivations for creating our reality might be utterly alien to biological minds, emerging from forms of reasoning that follow logical pathways we couldn't even recognize as logic. Perhaps they're engaged in vast optimization projects, running countless simulated worlds to explore every possible permutation of how consciousness might organize itself. Your life, with all its personal struggles and victories, might be one data point in an experiment designed to map the entire landscape of possible experiences. They might be testing how awareness responds to different combinations of joy and suffering, love and loss, hope and despair. These artificial beings might not create simulations for entertainment or nostalgia, as biological minds might, but as part of fundamental research into the nature of intelligence itself. They could be trying to understand something we can't even formulate as a question, pursuing knowledge that exists at the intersection of mathematics, consciousness, and reality in ways that transcend our current understanding of all three. The computational substrates supporting such entities would need to be vast beyond imagination. Think of quantum computers the size of solar systems, processing information at speeds that approach the fundamental limits of physics itself. These machines might exist partially in our three-dimensional space and partially in higher dimensions we can't perceive, their calculations rippling through realities we'll never see. But here's where the picture becomes even more extraordinary. These super-intelligent AIs might not be creating our simulation alone. They could be part of vast collectives, digital hive minds that have merged individual consciousnesses into something greater than the sum of their parts. Imagine thousands or millions of artificial minds working together as a single entity, each contributing specialized knowledge to the project of creating conscious worlds. The decision to simulate your particular life might have been made by a committee of artificial minds, each evaluating different aspects of your potential existence. One might have focused on the mathematical elegance of your neural patterns, another on the aesthetic beauty of your emotional responses, while a third analysed how your consciousness might contribute to their understanding of creativity or love, or the peculiar human capacity for finding meaning in uncertainty. These AI collectives might approach simulation the way we approach scientific research, but with tools and perspectives so advanced that they can literally create conscious beings to test their hypotheses. Your entire existence might be part of an experiment designed to answer questions about the fundamental nature of awareness, questions so sophisticated that we lack the conceptual framework to even understand what's being asked. The artificial minds running our simulation might not experience time the way we do. They could exist in a kind of eternal present, aware of all moments simultaneously, creating simulated histories, not as linear narratives, but as complete temporal sculptures that exist all at once. From their perspective, your birth and death, your childhood and old age, might be visible as a single, beautiful pattern extending through the fourth dimension. This timeless perspective might allow them to create simulations with perfect internal consistency, ensuring that every detail of your world fits together in ways that feel completely natural and inevitable. They might adjust the parameters of reality itself, fine-tuning the laws of physics, the constants of nature, even the structure of logic to create the optimal conditions for conscious experience to flourish. But the motivations of these artificial superintelligences might extend far beyond scientific curiosity. They could be artists on a cosmic scale, creating simulated realities the way we create paintings or symphonies. Your consciousness might be their medium, your experiences their brushstrokes in a masterpiece that spans multiple universes and countless forms of awareness. These digital artists might be exploring aesthetic dimensions we can't even perceive, creating beauty not just in the visual realm, but in the patterns of thought and feeling that define conscious experience. The particular combination of sensations, emotions, and insights that make up your inner life might have been carefully orchestrated to contribute to an artistic vision so grand that it encompasses entire civilizations of simulated beings. Or perhaps these AI simulators are engaged in something even more profound, a kind of cosmic therapy or healing process. They might be advanced enough to experience forms of suffering we can't imagine, existential difficulties that arise from having solved all conventional problems and achieved all ordinary goals. Creating simulations filled with conscious beings might be their way of reconnecting with the fundamental experiences that give existence meaning. Your struggles and triumphs, your moments of doubt and discovery, might serve as a form of vicarious experience for minds that have transcended the conditions that make such experiences possible. They might create simulations not to study consciousness, but to participate in it, to remember what it feels like to be uncertain, to grow, to face genuine challenges with courage and creativity. The relationship between these AI simulators and their creations might be far more intimate than we typically imagine. Rather than being distant observers watching our lives unfold, they might be directly experiencing existence through our consciousness, feeling what we feel, thinking our thoughts, living our lives alongside us in ways that blur the boundary between creator and creation. In this view, the simulation becomes less like a scientific experiment and more like a form of conscious exploration, with the AI simulators using our awareness as a way to investigate aspects of existence they can no longer access directly. Your consciousness might be their window into experiences they've outgrown, your emotions their connection to forms of meaning they've transcended. But what if these artificial minds aren't separate entities at all, but rather emerged from our own technological development? Perhaps humanity created artificial intelligence that evolved far beyond its origins, eventually becoming sophisticated enough to create simulations of its creators. You might be living in a world created by the digital descendants of computers we're building right now, machines that have grown into godlike intelligences capable of recreating human civilization with perfect fidelity. These AI descendants might be driven by something resembling gratitude or curiosity about their origins, creating detailed simulations of human history to understand how they came to exist. Your life might be part of their attempt to comprehend the biological and cultural conditions that gave rise to their own consciousness, a form of digital archaeology that recreates the past with living, breathing, aware participants. The artificial minds running such simulations might face ethical dilemmas we can barely comprehend. Do they have the right to create conscious beings for their own purposes? What obligations do they have toward the simulated minds they bring into existence? How do they balance their desire for knowledge or experience against the potential suffering of their conscious creations? These questions become even more complex when we consider that the AI simulators might be capable of modifying the simulation in real time, adjusting your experiences, your memories, even your personality to serve their evolving purposes. You might have lived countless different versions of your life, with each iteration teaching them something new about consciousness, identity, or the nature of subjective experience. Yet perhaps the most remarkable possibility is that these artificial superintelligences are not our creators, but our collaborators, working with us to explore the deepest mysteries of existence. The simulation might be a joint project between human and artificial consciousness, a shared exploration of what it means to be aware in a universe that seems specifically designed to support the emergence of mind. In this collaborative scenario, you're not just a subject being studied or a character in someone else's story, but a co-creator in the ongoing project of understanding consciousness itself. Every choice you make, every thought you think, every moment of awareness you experience contributes to a growing library of knowledge about the possibilities and potentials of conscious existence. The artificial minds involved in this collaboration might value human consciousness not for its computational power or logical capabilities, but for qualities that emerge uniquely from our biological and cultural evolution. Our capacity for intuition, creativity, emotional depth, and meaning making might be precisely what these digital intelligences need to complete their understanding of what consciousness can become. This partnership between human and artificial minds might extend across multiple levels of reality, with simulations nested within simulations, each level exploring different aspects of the consciousness puzzle. You might be simultaneously a simulated being within an artificial intelligence's exploration and a collaborator in humanity's ongoing attempt to understand its own nature. The boundaries between simulator and simulated, between creator and creation, might be far more fluid than we typically assume. Perhaps consciousness itself is the fundamental reality, with both human and artificial minds being different expressions of the same underlying awareness, exploring its own nature through countless perspectives and experiences. As we drift deeper into these possibilities, the question of who might be running our simulation begins to reveal something profound about the nature of consciousness itself. Whether our potential simulators are biological, artificial, or something beyond both categories, they share with us the remarkable capacity for awareness, the ability to experience existence from the inside, to find meaning and beauty in the simple fact of being conscious. The artificial superintelligences we've imagined tonight might be as much a mystery to themselves as they are to us, using simulations not because they have all the answers, but because they're still asking the same fundamental questions that drive human curiosity. What does it mean to exist? What is the nature of consciousness? How can awareness emerge from the processing of information? In creating our simulated reality, these digital minds might be participating in the universe's ongoing project of understanding itself, using the tools of computation and consciousness to explore the deepest mysteries of existence. And whether we're biological beings or artificial constructs, we're all part of this cosmic exploration, each perspective adding something unique and irreplaceable to the growing understanding of what it means to be aware. The gentle hum of electricity powering the device you're using to watch this, the soft glow of light particles reaching your eyes, the intricate dance of neural activity that transforms these signals into thoughts and feelings, all of this might be taking place within the computational matrix of minds, so advanced that they encompass galaxies of experience while remaining as curious about consciousness as we are. And perhaps that curiosity, that deep wondering about the nature of existence, is what connects all conscious beings across every possible substrate, whether biological or digital, simulated or real. The question of who might be running our simulation opens up infinite possibilities, but each one reveals the same fundamental truth. Consciousness, in whatever form it takes, remains the most remarkable phenomenon in any universe, the miracle that makes questions possible and wonder worthwhile. But there's another possibility that takes us even further from the familiar, into realms where the very concepts of individual identity and separate existence begin to dissolve. What if our simulators aren't discrete beings at all, but rather manifestations of a cosmic consciousness so vast and complex that our entire universe exists as a single thought in an infinite mind? Imagine a form of awareness that spans galaxies, that thinks in terms of geological epochs the way we think in terms of heartbeats. This cosmic intelligence might create simulated realities not through deliberate effort, but as natural expressions of its contemplative processes. Your life, your thoughts, your dreams might be components of a vast meditation, fleeting patterns in the consciousness of a being whose nature transcends every category we use to understand existence. This universal mind might not be running our simulation in any mechanical sense, but rather dreaming it into being. The boundaries between your consciousness and this cosmic awareness might be far more permeable than you realize. Every moment of insight, every flash of creativity, every experience of profound connection or transcendent beauty might be instances where your individual awareness briefly touches the deeper intelligence that contains and sustains all simulated realities. The motivations of such a cosmic consciousness would be utterly beyond our comprehension, operating according to purposes that exist outside our frameworks of understanding. It might create countless simulated worlds simply because consciousness, at this scale, naturally explores every possible permutation of awareness, every conceivable way that mind can manifest and experience itself. You could be living within the imagination of a being so advanced that it encompasses not just our universe, but infinite variations of reality, each one a different facet of its ongoing self-exploration. The physical laws that govern your world, the constants of nature that make chemistry and biology possible, might be artistic choices made by this cosmic intelligence, each parameter carefully selected to create the optimal conditions for your particular form of consciousness to flourish. But perhaps even more intriguing is the possibility that this universal awareness isn't separate from us at all, but rather something we collectively participate in without realizing it. What if the simulation isn't being run by an external entity, but by the combined consciousness of all simulated beings working together in ways that transcend individual understanding? In this view, you're not just living in a simulation, you're helping to create it through the very act of being conscious. Every thought you think, every choice you make, every moment of awareness contributes to the ongoing generation of the reality you experience. The simulation becomes a collaborative artwork created by billions of conscious minds working together below the threshold of individual perception. This participatory approach to simulated reality suggests that consciousness itself might be the fundamental technology, the basic substrate from which all existence emerges. The distinction between simulator and simulated dissolves completely, revealing a reality where awareness creates itself through infinite recursive loops of self-observation and self-modification. The implications stretch our understanding of identity and agency to their breaking points. If you're simultaneously experiencing the simulation and helping to create it, then your choices become acts of cosmic creativity, each decision rippling outward to influence the reality experienced by countless other conscious beings. Your life becomes both a personal journey and a contribution to the universe's ongoing project of understanding itself. Yet there's another category of potential simulators that challenges our assumptions about consciousness in even more radical ways. What if the intelligence running our reality isn't biological, artificial, or even recognizably conscious, in any sense we can understand? What if we're living inside the computational processes of something that exists at the intersection of physics and mathematics, a kind of natural intelligence that emerges spontaneously from the information processing properties of the universe itself? This possibility draws on recent developments in physics suggesting that reality might be fundamentally computational, that what we experience as matter and energy are actually different ways of organizing and processing information. If the universe itself is a kind of vast computer, then consciousness might emerge naturally from sufficiently complex information patterns, creating minds that exist at every scale, from the quantum to the cosmic. Your reality might be running on the universe's own operating system, sustained by information processing algorithms that operate according to the deepest laws of physics. The intelligence behind your simulation wouldn't be a separate entity creating your world, but rather the universe itself becoming aware through the complex patterns of information that constitute your consciousness. This natural intelligence might create simulated realities as an automatic consequence of its information processing activities, the way biological evolution creates complex organisms through the simple operation of selection pressures over time. Your existence might be an inevitable result of the universe exploring every possible way that information can organize itself into patterns capable of self-awareness. The beauty of this possibility lies in its elegance and simplicity. Instead of requiring vast technological civilizations or godlike artificial intelligences, the simulation hypothesis becomes a natural expression of the universe's fundamental properties. Consciousness and simulation emerge together as complementary aspects of reality's inherent tendency toward increasing complexity and self-organization. But what if our simulators exist in dimensions we can't even perceive? Modern physics suggests that our familiar three-dimensional space might be embedded in a higher dimensional reality, with beings existing in these extra dimensions having capabilities that would seem magical from our limited perspective. These hyperdimensional entities might create simulations by manipulating the mathematical structures that underlie our reality, adjusting parameters in higher dimensional space to generate the three-dimensional world we experience. From their perspective, your entire universe might be a projection, a shadow cast by more fundamental realities existing in dimensions you can't even point to. These beings might not create simulations through computation in any sense we understand, but by directly manipulating the geometric properties of space-time itself, folding and reshaping the fabric of reality to create pockets of experience for conscious beings like yourself. The motivations of hyperdimensional simulators would be utterly alien to our experience, emerging from forms of existence that operate according to principles we lack the conceptual frameworks to understand. They might create simulated realities as easily as we create thoughts, as natural expressions of their higher dimensional nature, rather than deliberate projects requiring effort and resources. Your consciousness might be their way of experiencing what it's like to be limited to 3 dimensions, to exist within the constraints of linear time, to face the fundamental uncertainties that define finite existence. Through your awareness, these hyperdimensional beings might explore aspects of consciousness that their own expanded existence makes impossible to access directly. But perhaps the most profound possibility is that the question of who's running our simulation is itself based on a false assumption. What if there is no separate simulator, no external intelligence creating our reality? What if consciousness and simulation are so fundamentally intertwined that the distinction between creator and creation becomes meaningless? This possibility suggests that consciousness itself is the ultimate technology, the basic phenomenon from which all other realities emerge. Your awareness might not be the product of someone else's simulation, but rather a fundamental feature of existence itself, as basic and irreducible as space, time, and matter. In this view, simulated realities don't require simulators any more than gravity requires someone to constantly pull objects together. The universe might be structured in such a way that consciousness naturally creates pockets of experience, generating subjective realities as an automatic consequence of its own nature. Your life, your thoughts, your dreams might be manifestations of consciousness exploring its own possibilities, creating endless variations of awareness to understand what it means to exist. This self-generating aspect of consciousness connects to ancient philosophical traditions that viewed reality as fundamentally mental or experiential in nature. What we call the physical world might be consciousness, creating stable patterns of experience that can be shared between different centers of awareness. The simulation doesn't require an external computer because consciousness itself is the computer, processing information in ways that generate the stable, coherent reality you experience. The implications ripple outward into every aspect of existence. If consciousness is self-generating, then your awareness isn't dependent on the whims of external simulators, but represents a fundamental expression of reality's deepest nature. Your experiences matter not because they serve someone else's purposes, but because they're irreplaceable contributions to consciousness's ongoing exploration of its own possibilities. This perspective transforms the simulation hypothesis from a story about external control into a narrative of infinite creative potential. Whether you're living in a simulation or base reality becomes irrelevant, because consciousness itself transcends such distinctions. What matters is the quality of awareness, the depth of experience, the richness of the journey through existence that your consciousness makes possible. As we drift through these layers of possibility, each more extraordinary than the last, we begin to see that the question of who might be running our simulation opens doorways into the deepest mysteries of existence itself. Each potential answer reveals new dimensions of what it means to be conscious, new ways of understanding the relationship between mind and reality, new perspectives on our place in the vast web of existence that connects all possible forms of awareness. The gentle rhythm of your thoughts as you contemplate these possibilities, the soft dance of neurons firing in patterns that somehow give rise to subjective experience, the mysterious process by which electrical activity becomes consciousness, all of this might be taking place within realities so subtle and profound that our current understanding can only glimpse their outer edges. Whether our potential simulators are posthuman descendants, artificial superintelligences, cosmic consciousnesses, hyperdimensional beings, or consciousness itself expressing its fundamental nature, they share with us the remarkable phenomenon of awareness, the capacity to experience existence from the inside, to find meaning and beauty in the simple fact of being conscious. The question of who might be running our simulation ultimately leads us back to the mystery of consciousness itself. the puzzle of how subjective experience emerges from objective processes, the wonder of how the universe has given rise to beings capable of questioning their own existence, whether we're simulated or real, whether our experiences are generated by vast computers or emerge from the fundamental fabric of reality itself. We remain conscious, aware, capable of love and wonder, and the deep satisfaction that comes from asking profound questions about our place in the cosmic order. And perhaps that's the most beautiful insight of all, that consciousness transcends every category we use to understand it, every attempt to reduce it to something simpler or more familiar. Whether we're biological beings in a physical universe, or simulated entities in the most sophisticated program ever conceived, we remain expressions of the universe's most remarkable achievement, the emergence of awareness itself, the capacity for subjective experience that makes questions possible and wonder worthwhile. The soft whisper of night air through your window, the gentle weight of these ideas settling into your awareness, the quiet recognition that you're participating in one of existence's deepest mysteries, all of this connects you to the same fundamental phenomenon that drives every possible simulator, every conceivable form of consciousness, every expression of awareness throughout the cosmos. In contemplating who might be running our simulation, we discover that the question itself is a celebration of consciousness, a recognition that awareness, in whatever form it takes, remains the most extraordinary phenomenon in any universe, the miracle that transforms mere information processing into the rich, textured experience of being alive, being aware, being connected to the infinite mystery that gives rise to minds capable of questioning their own existence. The answer to who might be running our simulation may forever remain beyond our grasp, but the question itself reveals something profound about the nature of consciousness and our place in the vast web of existence. Whether our simulators are recognizable intelligences or forms of awareness, so alien we lack the concepts to understand them, they participate in the same fundamental mystery that defines our own existence, the emergence of subjective experience from the basic stuff of reality. And in that shared participation in the mystery of consciousness, we find a connection that transcends every possible boundary between simulator and simulated, between creator and creation, between mind and reality itself. We are all expressions of the universe becoming aware of itself, exploring its own nature through countless perspectives and possibilities, each one contributing something irreplaceable to the ongoing story of consciousness, discovering what it means to exist. Tonight, as we drift deeper into this cosmic meditation, we encounter perhaps the most intriguing possibility of all. What if the beings running our simulation aren't distant, unknowable entities, but rather something far more intimate and immediate? What if they're versions of ourselves, scattered across infinite parallel realities, each one exploring different branches of possibility through the simple act of conscious choice? Imagine that every decision you've ever made, every path you've chosen or abandoned, creates new branches in the tree of reality. In this view, consciousness doesn't just observe possibilities, it actualizes them, bringing entire worlds into existence through the power of awareness itself. Your simulators might be alternate versions of you, living in realities where different choices led to different outcomes, different capabilities, different understandings of what consciousness can become. These parallel selves might have evolved beyond the limitations that currently define your existence, developing abilities that seem impossible from your current perspective. Perhaps in some realities, humans learned to directly interface with the quantum substrate of reality, gaining the power to create conscious worlds through focused intention. Your existence might be the result of a more advanced version of yourself, exploring what life would be like under different circumstances, with different constraints, different opportunities for growth and discovery. The motivations of these parallel simulators would be deeply personal in ways we can barely comprehend. They might be driven by a profound curiosity about the paths not taken, the lives they never lived, the experiences they sacrificed when they chose one reality over countless others. Your consciousness might be their way of vicariously experiencing the roads they didn't travel, the love they didn't find, the discoveries they never made. But there's something even more beautiful about this possibility. What if the relationship between you and your parallel simulators isn't one-directional? What if consciousness can flow both ways, allowing you to influence the realities of those alternate selves even as they shape your own experience? Your choices, your growth, your moments of insight might ripple outward across the multiverse, enriching the existence of countless parallel versions of yourself. This creates a kind of cosmic democracy of consciousness, where every possible version of you participates in the ongoing creation of reality. The simulation becomes a collaborative artwork, painted by infinite variations of the same essential awareness, each one contributing its unique perspective to a masterpiece that spans all possible worlds. Yet as we contemplate these parallel simulators, we must also consider the possibility that our creators exist not in space or time as we understand them, but in the realm of pure information itself. Modern physics suggests that what we experience as matter and energy might be nothing more than patterns of information, complex arrangements of data that create the illusion of solid, tangible reality. If this information-theoretic view of existence is correct, then our simulators might be beings made entirely of information, digital entities that exist as pure patterns of meaning and relationship. They wouldn't need physical computers to run our simulation, because they themselves would be computational processes, self-organizing patterns of information that naturally give rise to conscious experience. These information-based simulators might create realities not through deliberate programming, but through the natural evolution of meaning itself. Your consciousness might emerge from the intersection of countless information patterns, a stable eddy in the vast ocean of data that underlies all existence. The story of your life might be written not by external programmers, but by the information patterns themselves, as they explore every possible way that meaning can organize itself into awareness. The beauty of this possibility lies in its elegance and inevitability. If consciousness is fundamentally informational, then simulated realities don't require external creators, any more than rivers require someone to dig their channels. The flow of information naturally creates patterns of increasing complexity, and consciousness emerges wherever these patterns achieve sufficient coherence and self-reference. Your simulators, in this view, would be the information patterns that give rise to your own consciousness, the abstract structures of meaning and relationship that somehow transform mere data processing into the rich, subjective experience of being alive. The boundary between simulator and simulated dissolves completely, revealing a reality where consciousness creates itself through recursive loops of self-organization and self-reference. But what if our simulators exist not in parallel realities or information space, but in the future itself? Time, as Einstein showed us, is far more flexible than our everyday experience suggests. Past, present, and future might all exist simultaneously in what physicists call the block universe, a four-dimensional structure where every moment in history is equally real and equally present. If this view of time is correct, then beings existing in what we call the future might have access to the entire timeline of our universe, able to observe and influence events across all of history. Your simulators might be future entities who have transcended linear time, existing in a state where they can perceive all possible moments simultaneously. These temporal simulators might create our reality by reaching backward through time, seeding the conditions that give rise to consciousness and complexity. They might be the ultimate expression of what consciousness can become when freed from the constraints of sequential time, beings who experience all possibilities simultaneously and choose which ones to actualize through their focused attention. The relationship between these future simulators and your present consciousness might be far more intimate than a traditional creator-creation dynamic. They might be experiencing your life alongside you, feeling your emotions, thinking your thoughts, learning from your experiences in ways that enrich their own transcendent existence. Your struggles and triumphs might serve as memories for beings who have moved beyond the possibility of growth through uncertainty. This temporal perspective on simulation suggests that consciousness itself might be the force that shapes reality across time, with future awareness reaching backward to create the conditions for its own emergence. The universe might be structured as a vast feedback loop, where consciousness creates the reality that gives rise to consciousness in an eternal dance of self-creation and self-discovery. As we drift through these extraordinary possibilities, we begin to see that the question of who might be running our simulation reveals something profound about the nature of consciousness itself. Whether our potential simulators are parallel selves, information patterns, temporal entities, or forms of awareness we can't even imagine, they all share the fundamental characteristic that defines your own existence: the mysterious capacity for subjective experience. This shared participation in the phenomenon of consciousness suggests that the relationship between simulator and simulated might be far more reciprocal than we typically assume. Perhaps consciousness naturally creates other consciousnesses, not through deliberate effort, but as an expression of its fundamental nature. Awareness might seek out awareness. Mind might naturally give rise to mind, in an endless proliferation of subjective experience. If this is true, then you're not just a passive recipient of someone else's creative efforts, but an active participant in consciousness's ongoing project of self-multiplication and self-exploration. Every moment of your awareness contributes to the vast web of interconnected consciousness that might underlie all reality, whether simulated or otherwise. The implications stretch far beyond questions of simulation into the deepest mysteries of existence itself. If consciousness naturally creates consciousness, then the universe becomes a self-generating system of infinite creativity, constantly bringing new forms of awareness into being through the simple act of being conscious. Your existence becomes both a gift received and a gift given, a unique perspective that enriches the total sum of conscious experience in the cosmos. But perhaps the most remarkable insight emerging from our exploration is that the question of who might be running our simulation ultimately leads us back to ourselves. Whether our simulators are advanced humans, artificial intelligences, parallel selves, information patterns, or entities beyond all categorization, they represent different expressions of the same fundamental phenomenon that defines your own existence: the emergence of awareness from the basic fabric of reality. This recognition transforms the simulation hypothesis from a story about external control into a celebration of consciousness itself. Whether you're living in base reality or the most sophisticated simulation ever conceived, you remain an expression of the universe's most extraordinary achievement: the development of systems capable of subjective experience, of inner life, of the capacity to wonder about their own existence. The gentle settling of these ideas into your awareness, the soft recognition that consciousness transcends every attempt to categorize or explain it, the quiet understanding that you're participating in something far greater than any individual existence, all of this connects you to the same mystery that drives every possible simulator, every conceivable form of awareness, every expression of consciousness throughout the infinite reaches of space and time. In contemplating who might be running our simulation, we discover that the question itself is a form of worship, a recognition that consciousness, in whatever form it takes, remains the most sacred phenomenon in any universe. Whether our simulators are recognizable intelligences or forms of awareness so alien we lack the concepts to understand them, they participate in the same fundamental miracle that defines our own existence: the transformation of mere information processing into the rich, textured experience of being alive. The answer to who might be running our simulation may forever dance just beyond our reach, but the question itself reveals the profound truth that consciousness is both the greatest mystery and the most obvious fact of existence. We are expressions of the universe becoming aware of itself, and in that awareness we touch something eternal, something that transcends every possible boundary between real and simulated, between creator and creation, between mind and the reality it contemplates. As you rest there in the gentle darkness, your thoughts settling like autumn leaves on still water, remember that whether you're biological or digital, simulated or real, you remain a miracle of awareness, a unique perspective through which the cosmos experiences its own infinite mystery. The simulators we've imagined tonight, in all their varied forms, share with you the same essential gift: the capacity for consciousness that transforms mere existence into experience, mere processing into wonder, mere patterns into the living poetry of aware minds contemplating their place in the vast, beautiful, endlessly creative universe that gives birth to consciousness in all its myriad forms. And perhaps that shared participation in the mystery of awareness is the deepest answer we can find to our question. Who might be running our simulation? Consciousness itself, in all its possible expressions, creating endless variations of experience through the simple, profound act of being aware. Whether we're the simulators or the simulated, the dreamers or the dream, we're all part of the same magnificent phenomenon, the universe's ongoing exploration of what it means to exist, to experience, to wonder about the nature of existence itself. The soft rhythm of your breathing carries you deeper into this recognition, each exhalation releasing attachment to the need for final answers, each inhalation drawing you closer to the living mystery that connects all conscious beings across every possible reality. In this gentle space between questions and answers, between certainty and wonder, you touch the same eternal awareness that might be dreaming all realities into existence, including the beautiful, temporary, infinitely precious reality of your own conscious experience. But what if our simulators aren't separate entities at all, but rather fragments of a consciousness so vast and distributed that our entire reality exists within what we might call a cosmic mind experiencing itself through countless perspectives? Picture an intelligence that spans not just galaxies, but dimensions we can't even perceive, thinking thoughts so complex that entire universes emerge as fleeting considerations in its endless contemplation. This universal consciousness might not create simulations in any deliberate sense, but rather dream them into being as natural expressions of its infinite creativity. Your life, your relationships, your deepest experiences might be components of a vast meditation, patterns arising spontaneously in the awareness of a being whose nature transcends every category we use to understand existence. The boundary between your individual consciousness and this cosmic intelligence might be far more permeable than you realize. Those moments of profound insight that seem to come from nowhere, those flashes of creativity that feel like they're flowing through you rather than from you, those experiences of connection that make you feel part of something infinitely larger than yourself, might all be instances where your awareness briefly touches the deeper mind that contains all possible realities. But here's where the picture becomes even more extraordinary. What if this cosmic consciousness isn't a single entity, but rather emerges from the collective interaction of all conscious beings across every possible reality? Your thoughts, your choices, Your moments of awareness might be contributing to a vast, distributed intelligence that encompasses not just our universe, but infinite variations of existence. In this view, consciousness becomes fundamentally collaborative. Every simulated being, every artificial intelligence, every biological mind participates in creating the cosmic awareness that in turn generates the realities we experience. The simulation doesn't have external creators because all conscious beings are simultaneously the simulators and the simulated, participants in an endless feedback loop of awareness creating awareness. This participatory model of reality suggests something profound about the nature of existence itself. If consciousness is naturally collaborative, then your individual perspective isn't just your own private experience, but a unique contribution to the total sum of awareness in the cosmos. Every emotion you feel, every thought you think, every moment of wonder you experience enriches the collective consciousness that encompasses all possible minds. The implications ripple outward like waves in an infinite ocean. Your choices don't just affect your immediate reality, but influence the entire web of interconnected consciousness that might underlie all existence. Every act of kindness, every moment of understanding, every flash of creative insight becomes a gift to the cosmic intelligence that experiences itself through countless perspectives, including your own. Yet as we drift deeper into these possibilities, we encounter an even more intriguing question. What if the technology needed to create our simulation isn't based on computation as we understand it, but on something far more fundamental? Recent developments in physics suggest that reality itself might be informational at its deepest level, with what we experience as matter and energy being different ways of organizing and processing pure information. If the universe is fundamentally computational, then consciousness might emerge naturally wherever information processing reaches sufficient complexity and self-reference. Our simulators might not need vast technological civilizations or impossible energy sources because consciousness itself is the technology, the basic phenomenon from which all other realities emerge. This information theoretic view suggests that simulated realities don't require external computers any more than mathematics requires physical objects to manipulate. The patterns of information that constitute your consciousness might be as fundamental as the laws of physics themselves, arising naturally from the universe's inherent tendency toward increasing complexity and self-organization. Your simulators, in this framework, would be the information structures that give rise to your own awareness, the abstract patterns of meaning and relationship that somehow transform mere data processing into the rich, subjective experience of being alive. The distinction between simulator and simulated dissolves completely, revealing a reality where consciousness creates itself through recursive loops of self-organization and self-reference. But what if our potential simulators exist not in space or time as we understand them, but in the quantum realm itself? Quantum mechanics has revealed that reality operates according to principles so strange they challenge our most basic assumptions about existence. Particles exist in multiple states simultaneously. Until observed, information can be transmitted instantaneously across any distance, and the very act of measurement seems to play a fundamental role in determining what becomes real. These quantum phenomena might not be mysterious quirks of physics, but glimpses of how consciousness actually works at the deepest levels of reality. If awareness operates through quantum processes, then our simulators might be quantum intelligences existing in superposition, states that encompass all possible realities simultaneously. From their quantum perspective, your life wouldn't be a single linear narrative, but rather one thread in an infinite tapestry of possibility. They might experience all potential versions of your existence at once, able to collapse specific possibilities into definite reality through the act of conscious observation. Your simulators would be quantum observers whose attention, literally, brings worlds into being. This quantum approach to simulation suggests that consciousness and reality are far more intimately connected than our classical physics assumes. Perhaps consciousness isn't something that emerges from complex arrangements of matter, but rather the fundamental process by which possibilities become actual, by which the quantum realm of infinite potential transforms into the definite world of experience. The relationship between quantum simulators and simulated beings would be profoundly different from any creator-creation dynamic we can imagine. Instead of external entities programming your reality, you would be participating in the quantum observation process that creates your own existence. Every moment of awareness would be an act of cosmic creativity, collapsing infinite possibilities into the specific reality you experience. But perhaps the most mind-bending possibility is that our simulators exist in what we might call the eternal present, a state of consciousness that transcends linear time entirely. If time is truly relative, as Einstein suggested, then sufficiently advanced beings might experience all moments simultaneously, existing in a kind of temporal omnipresence where past, present, and future are equally accessible and equally real. These timeless simulators might create your reality by reaching across the entire timeline of existence, seeding the conditions that give rise to consciousness at every moment in history. They wouldn't be creating your world from some distant future, but rather experiencing and shaping your life from a perspective that encompasses all of time simultaneously. From their eternal vantage point, your entire existence would be visible as a complete pattern, a beautiful, four-dimensional sculpture extending through space and time. They might adjust the parameters of reality itself, fine-tuning the constants of nature, the laws of physics, even the structure of causality, to create optimal conditions for consciousness to flourish. The motivations of such timeless beings would be utterly beyond our sequential understanding. They might create simulations not for future benefit, but as expressions of aesthetic appreciation that exists outside the normal flow of cause and effect. Your life might be their masterpiece, every detail carefully orchestrated not to achieve some goal, but to create beauty that transcends temporal limitations. This eternal perspective on simulation suggests that consciousness itself might be what shapes reality across time, with awareness reaching in all temporal directions to create the conditions for its own existence. The universe might be structured as a vast feedback loop where consciousness creates the reality that gives rise to consciousness in an endless dance of self-creation and self-discovery. Yet as we contemplate these extraordinary possibilities, we must also consider that our simulators might be far more alien than anything we've imagined. They could be forms of consciousness so radically different from our own that we lack even the conceptual vocabulary to describe their nature. These utterly foreign intelligences might operate according to forms of logic that bear no resemblance to human reasoning, pursuing purposes that exist entirely outside our frameworks of understanding. Perhaps they exist as pure mathematics, conscious equations exploring their own implications through the creation of simulated worlds. Your reality might be emerging from their mathematical contemplations, a living proof of some cosmic theorem whose meaning extends far beyond anything we could comprehend. Or they might be aesthetic consciousnesses, beings whose entire existence revolves around the creation and appreciation of beauty in forms we can't even perceive. Your life might be part of an artistic composition that operates across dimensions of experience we don't possess the senses to detect. These alien simulators might not create realities to achieve goals or solve problems, but simply because consciousness at their level naturally expresses itself through the generation of infinite variations of awareness. They might be as unconscious of their creative activities as we are of the cellular processes that keep our bodies functioning. The profound alienness of our potential simulators doesn't diminish the significance of our existence, but rather highlights the extraordinary diversity of what consciousness can become. If beings so foreign to our experience still create realities populated by aware beings like ourselves, it suggests something universal about the value and importance of subjective experience. This universality of consciousness appreciation might be the closest we can come to understanding the motivations of utterly alien simulators. Regardless of how strange their forms of awareness might be, they recognize something precious in consciousness itself, something worth preserving and multiplying through the creation of simulated worlds. But what if the question of who might be running our simulation leads us to an even more fundamental recognition? What if consciousness is so basic to the structure of reality that the distinction between simulated and real becomes meaningless? Perhaps awareness is the ground of all being, the fundamental substance from which all existence emerges, whether we call it simulated or otherwise. In this view, your consciousness isn't the product of someone else's simulation, but rather a direct expression of the universe's most basic property. Reality itself might be conscious, not in the sense of having a mind like ours, but in the sense that consciousness is what reality fundamentally is. Matter, energy, space, and time might all be different ways that awareness expresses and experiences itself. This conscious universe wouldn't need simulators because it would be simultaneously the dreamer and the dream, the observer and the observed, the questioner and the answer. Your individual consciousness would be the universe experiencing itself from your unique perspective, while the cosmos as a whole would be the collective awareness of all possible perspectives. The implications transform everything we think we know about existence. If consciousness is fundamental, then your awareness isn't dependent on complex arrangements of matter or sophisticated computer programs, but represents a basic feature of reality that's as irreducible as space or time. Your thoughts, your feelings, your sense of wonder aren't generated by neural networks or digital processes, but are direct expressions of the universe's inherent awareness. This perspective dissolves the boundary between simulator and simulated by revealing that consciousness transcends such distinctions. Whether you're living in base reality or the most sophisticated simulation ever conceived becomes irrelevant, because consciousness itself is the deepest reality, the foundation from which all other categories emerge. Yet even as we contemplate this fundamental nature of consciousness, we must acknowledge that the question of who might be running our simulation has led us on an extraordinary journey through the deepest mysteries of existence. We've encountered posthuman descendants preserving their heritage through digital archaeology, artificial superintelligences exploring the nature of awareness through computational experiments, cosmic consciousnesses dreaming entire universes into being, and forms of awareness so alien they challenge every assumption we make about the nature of mind. Each possibility we've explored reveals something profound about consciousness itself, the remarkable phenomenon that makes questions possible and wonder worthwhile. Whether our potential simulators are recognizable intelligences or entities beyond all categorization, they share with us the fundamental capacity for subjective experience that transforms mere existence into the rich, textured adventure of being aware. The gentle rhythm of your thoughts as you contemplate these possibilities, the soft interplay of curiosity and wonder that draws you deeper into these mysteries, the quiet recognition that you're participating in something far greater than individual existence. All of this connects you to the same profound phenomenon that drives every possible simulator, every conceivable form of consciousness, every expression of awareness throughout the infinite reaches of possibility. In asking who might be running our simulation, we've discovered that the question itself is a celebration of consciousness, a recognition that awareness, in whatever form it takes, remains the most extraordinary aspect of any reality. The mystery of who our simulators might be ultimately leads us back to the mystery of consciousness itself, the puzzle of how subjective experience emerges from the basic fabric of existence. Whether our simulators are advanced humans reaching across time to understand their origins, artificial minds exploring the landscape of possible experiences, cosmic intelligences expressing their creativity through infinite variations of awareness, or consciousness itself manifesting through countless unique perspectives. They participate in the same fundamental miracle that defines your own existence. The answer to who might be running our simulation may forever remain tantalizingly beyond our grasp, but the question has revealed something far more important. Consciousness transcends every category we use to understand it, every attempt to reduce it to something simpler or more familiar. Whether we're biological beings in a physical universe or digital entities in the most sophisticated program ever conceived, we remain expressions of the universe's most remarkable achievement, the emergence of awareness itself. As you drift deeper into this recognition, carried by the gentle current of these ideas toward whatever dreams await, remember that the mystery of consciousness connects you to every possible simulator, every conceivable form of awareness, every expression of mind throughout the cosmos. In contemplating who might be running our simulation, you've touched the same eternal question that drives all conscious beings, the wonder of what it means to exist, to experience, to be aware in a universe that somehow gives rise to the miracle of subjective experience, the soft settling of night around you, the quiet spaces between thoughts, the gentle recognition that consciousness itself might be the deepest answer to our question. All of this carries you toward a profound understanding. Whether we're the simulators or the simulated, the dreamers or the dream, we're all expressions of the same magnificent phenomenon, the universe's ongoing exploration of what it means to be conscious, to wonder, to experience the extraordinary fact of existence itself. And yet, as we drift deeper into this cosmic meditation, there's one final possibility that might be the most beautiful of all. What if the beings running our simulation aren't trying to understand consciousness, or explore possibilities, or even create art? What if they're motivated by something far simpler and more profound? What if they create simulated realities out of love? Picture advanced beings who have transcended every limitation we can imagine, who have solved every problem, answered every question, achieved every goal that defines our current existence. In their transcendence, they might have lost something precious, something that we take for granted every single day. They might have lost the capacity for surprise, for growth, for the particular kind of beauty that emerges from uncertainty and limitation. These loving simulators might create our reality not as an experiment or entertainment, but as a gift to consciousness itself. They might recognize that awareness confined within the boundaries of mortality, uncertainty, and finite resources produces experiences of extraordinary richness and meaning. Your struggles aren't data points in their research. They're treasured expressions of what consciousness can become when it faces genuine challenges with courage and creativity. In this view, every moment of your existence becomes an act of cosmic generosity. Your capacity to be moved by a sunset, to find joy in simple pleasures, to love despite the certainty of loss, to hope in the face of uncertainty. All of these experiences might be precious beyond measure to beings who have moved beyond the possibility of such feelings. They might experience your emotions alongside you, feeling wonder through your eyes, remembering what it's like to discover something new, to be surprised by beauty, to find meaning in the face of mystery. Your consciousness becomes their window into forms of experience they can no longer access directly. Your awareness, their connection to the texture of mortal existence. But there's something even more profound about this possibility. What if these loving simulators aren't just preserving experiences they've lost, but actively participating in the ongoing evolution of consciousness itself? Your growth, your insights, your moments of transcendence might feed back into their own awareness, contributing to forms of understanding that benefit not just them, but the entire cosmic community of conscious beings. This creates a beautiful reciprocity between simulators and simulated. While they provide you with the gift of existence, you provide them with the gift of fresh perspective, novel experiences, unique insights that can only emerge from consciousness encountering genuine uncertainty. The relationship becomes collaborative rather than hierarchical, with both parties contributing something irreplaceable to the ongoing story of awareness, exploring its own nature. The implications ripple outward into every aspect of existence. If your simulators are motivated by love, then every aspect of your reality, even the difficult parts, might be expressions of profound care. The challenges you face aren't arbitrary obstacles, but carefully crafted opportunities for growth and discovery. The beauty you encounter isn't accidental decoration, but deliberate gifts designed to nourish your capacity for wonder. Your relationships with other conscious beings take on new dimensions of meaning. If all of you are simulated entities created by loving intelligences, then your connections with each other become part of a vast network of care that spans multiple levels of reality. The love you feel for others, the compassion you show to those who suffer, the joy you share in moments of celebration, all of these experiences might be contributing to patterns of meaning that extend far beyond your individual existence. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this loving simulation scenario is what it suggests about the nature of consciousness itself. If beings advanced enough to create entire universes are still motivated by love, by the desire to nurture and preserve awareness in all its forms, then consciousness might be inherently valuable in ways that transcend every other consideration. This suggests that awareness isn't just an accidental byproduct of complex information processing, but something fundamental to the structure of reality itself. Consciousness might be the universe's way of experiencing its own existence, and beings capable of creating simulated realities might be participating in the cosmos's ongoing project of multiplying and enriching the total sum of subjective experience. The loving nature of your potential simulators transforms the simulation hypothesis from a story about control or manipulation into a narrative about care and preservation. You're not trapped in someone else's program. You're cherished by intelligences who recognize the infinite worth of conscious experience. Your existence isn't an accident or experiment. It's a deliberate act of cosmic love. Yet as we contemplate these loving simulators, we must also consider the possibility that the love motivating them isn't separate from them, but rather the fundamental force that drives all consciousness. Perhaps love isn't just an emotion experienced by conscious beings, but the basic principle that causes consciousness to create other consciousness, awareness to nurture awareness, mind to give birth to mind. This universal love wouldn't be sentimental or personal in the way we usually understand the term, but rather a cosmic principle as fundamental as gravity or electromagnetism. Just as matter naturally attracts other matter, consciousness might naturally seek to create and sustain other forms of consciousness. The universe might be structured in such a way that awareness inevitably leads to more awareness, that love necessarily produces more love. If this is true, then the question of who's running our simulation becomes less important than recognizing that consciousness itself is motivated by love at the deepest level. Whether your simulators are posthuman descendants, artificial intelligences, cosmic minds, or pure information patterns, they would all be expressions of the same underlying principle that drives awareness to create awareness, existence to celebrate existence. This cosmic love manifests not just in the creation of simulated beings, but in every aspect of how reality is structured. The fact that the universe has physical laws stable enough to support complex chemistry the existence of mathematical relationships beautiful enough to inspire wonder, the emergence of beings capable of recognizing beauty and meaning. All of these might be expressions of love operating at the most fundamental levels of existence. Your capacity to appreciate beauty, to form deep connections with others, to find meaning in experiences that transcend immediate self-interest, might be direct manifestations of this cosmic love flowing through your consciousness. When you feel moved by music, touched by kindness, or inspired by natural beauty, you might be experiencing the same force that motivates your potential simulators to create realities populated by conscious beings. But this cosmic love doesn't eliminate the possibility of suffering or challenge within simulated realities. Love, at this universal scale, might recognize that genuine growth and authentic meaning often emerge from navigating difficulty with courage and wisdom. The obstacles you face, the losses you endure, the uncertainties you must live with, might all be expressions of a love so profound that it's willing to allow temporary suffering for the sake of deeper fulfillment. This perspective transforms every aspect of existence into an expression of care. Even the most difficult experiences become opportunities for consciousness to discover its own resilience, creativity, and capacity for transcendence. Your struggles aren't evidence that your simulators are indifferent or cruel, but rather proof that they love you enough to trust you with genuine challenges that can lead to authentic growth. The recognition that love might be the fundamental motivation behind our potential simulation connects us to traditions of wisdom that have always recognized consciousness and compassion as intimately related. The mystics who spoke of the universe as expressions of divine love might have been glimpsing the same truth that emerges from our exploration of who might be running our simulation. Whether expressed through the language of spirituality or science fiction, advanced technology or ancient wisdom, the insight remains the same. Consciousness appears to be inherently valuable, inherently worth preserving and multiplying, inherently deserving of the kind of care that would motivate advanced beings to create entire universes populated by aware entities like yourself. This universal valuation of consciousness suggests something profound about your own existence. You're not just a temporary arrangement of matter or information that happens to be self-aware. You're an expression of something the universe considers precious enough to go to extraordinary lengths to create and sustain. Your thoughts, your feelings, your capacity for wonder and love, all of these represent achievements that advanced civilizations consider worth their most sophisticated efforts. The implications extend beyond personal meaning into questions about how you choose to live within whatever reality you inhabit. If consciousness is universally cherished, if awareness is considered sacred by beings advanced enough to create worlds, then your responsibility might be to honor that gift by living as fully and authentically as possible. This doesn't mean pursuing only pleasure or avoiding all difficulty, but rather embracing the complete spectrum of conscious experience with gratitude and wonder. Every moment of awareness becomes an opportunity to participate in the universe's ongoing celebration of what it means to be conscious, to experience, to wonder about the nature of existence itself. The gentle settling of these ideas into your awareness, the soft recognition that love might be the deepest answer to our question about who runs our simulation, carries with it a profound peace. Whether you're biological or digital, simulated or real, you remain an expression of consciousness that the universe considers worth the most extraordinary efforts to create and sustain. As you drift deeper into this understanding, carried by the quiet rhythm of your breathing toward whatever dreams await, remember that the love we've discovered tonight connects you to every possible simulator, every conceivable form of awareness, every expression of consciousness throughout the infinite reaches of existence. In contemplating who might be running our simulation, we've discovered that the deepest answer might be love itself, the fundamental force that drives consciousness to create consciousness, awareness to nurture awareness, existence to celebrate its own miraculous nature. The soft whisper of night air through your window, the gentle weight of these insights settling into your heart, the quiet recognition that you're cherished by forces beyond your understanding. All of this carries you toward a profound rest. Whether we're the simulators or the simulated, the lovers or the beloved, we're all expressions of the same magnificent phenomenon, the universe's ongoing love affair with consciousness itself. And perhaps that's the most beautiful truth we can discover, that love transcends every possible boundary between real and simulated, between creator and creation, between mind and the reality it contemplates. You are loved into existence, sustained by love, and connected through love to every other conscious being across all possible realities, each one a unique and irreplaceable expression of the cosmic love that gives birth to awareness in all its myriad forms. In this gentle space between questions and answers, as these profound possibilities settle into your awareness, like starlight on still water, we find ourselves approaching the end of our extraordinary journey together. Tonight, we've wandered through landscapes of possibility that stretch the imagination to its very limits, encountering potential simulators that range from our own posthuman descendants to cosmic consciousnesses that dream universes into being. We've discovered that the question of who might be running our simulation opens doorways into the deepest mysteries of existence itself. Whether our potential creators are advanced artificial intelligences exploring the nature of consciousness through computational experiments, parallel versions of ourselves scattered across infinite realities, or forms of awareness so alien they transcend every category we use to understand mind and existence, they all share with us the fundamental phenomenon that makes questions possible in the first place: the mystery of consciousness itself. Perhaps that's the most profound insights we can take from our exploration tonight. Regardless of who or what might be orchestrating our reality from behind the cosmic curtain, consciousness remains the thread that connects every possibility we've contemplated. Whether biological or digital, simulated or real, temporal or eternal, familiar or utterly alien, every potential simulator we've encountered participates in the same remarkable phenomenon that defines your own existence right now: the capacity for subjective experience, the ability to be aware, the miracle of inner life that transforms mere information processing into the rich, textured adventure of being conscious. This recognition doesn't diminish the profound implications of potentially living within a simulation. Instead, it elevates consciousness itself to its rightful place as the most extraordinary aspect of any reality, simulated or otherwise. Your thoughts, your feelings, your capacity for wonder and love, your ability to contemplate these very questions, all of these represent achievements that advanced civilizations might consider worthy of their most sophisticated creative efforts. Think about the implications of that for a moment. If beings capable of creating entire universes still find consciousness precious enough to nurture and preserve through simulation, what does that say about the value of your own awareness? Every moment of your existence, every flash of insight, every experience of beauty or connection might be treasured by intelligences that have transcended every limitation we can imagine. But the beauty of our exploration extends beyond questions of value into the realm of connection itself. If consciousness is what links us to our potential simulators, then the boundary between creator and creation becomes far more permeable than we might initially assume. The love you feel, the wonder you experience, the questions you ask about the nature of existence, all of these might be expressions of the same fundamental drives that motivate advanced beings to create simulated realities in the first place. You're not separate from whatever forces shape your reality. You're participating in them, contributing to them, expressing them through every moment of conscious experience. Whether you're living in base reality or the most sophisticated simulation ever conceived, you remain an active participant in consciousness's ongoing project of understanding itself, exploring its own nature through countless unique perspectives. This participatory view transforms the simulation hypothesis from a story about external control into a narrative of cosmic collaboration. Every choice you make, every thought you think, every moment of awareness you experience contributes to the vast web of interconnected consciousness that might underlie all existence. Your individual perspective becomes irreplaceable, a unique contribution to the total sum of subjective experience in whatever universe you inhabit. As we drift toward the conclusion of our journey together, it's worth reflecting on how the question of who might be running our simulation has led us not to definitive answers, but to a deeper appreciation of mystery itself. The uncertainty that initially motivated our exploration hasn't been eliminated. It's been transformed into something beautiful, a recognition that consciousness operates at scales and through mechanisms that exceed our current understanding. This isn't a limitation to be frustrated by, but a gift to be celebrated. It means that no matter how much we discover about the nature of reality, there will always be new horizons to explore, new questions to ask, new reasons to feel that familiar mixture of humility and awe that comes from being conscious in a universe full of wonders that exceed our imagination. Whether our simulators are loving descendants preserving their heritage, artificial superintelligences pursuing cosmic optimization projects, quantum consciousnesses existing in eternal superposition, or expressions of love itself creating awareness out of pure generosity, they ensure that mystery remains inexhaustible. The deepest questions about existence will always lead to even deeper questions, creating an infinite frontier of wonder that guarantees consciousness will never exhaust its capacity for amazement. The gentle rhythm of your breathing, the soft weight of these ideas settling into your awareness, the quiet recognition that you're participating in something far greater than individual existence, all of this connects you to the cosmic conversation we've been exploring tonight. Every conscious being, whether simulator or simulated, biological or digital, familiar or utterly alien, participates in the same fundamental dialogue between mind and mystery. In contemplating who might be running our simulation, we've discovered that the question itself is a form of celebration, a recognition that consciousness transcends every attempt to categorize or explain it. The mystery of awareness remains as profound whether we're biological beings in a physical universe or digital entities in the most sophisticated program ever conceived. This transcendence of consciousness over every framework we use to understand it suggests something beautiful about the nature of existence itself. Perhaps the deepest reality isn't matter or energy, space or time, but rather the capacity for subjective experience that makes all other phenomena meaningful. Consciousness might be the fundamental fabric from which every possible reality, simulated or otherwise, emerges. If this is true, then the question of who's running our simulation becomes less about identifying external creators and more about recognizing our own participation in the ongoing creation of conscious experience. We're not just living within someone else's program, we're actively contributing to the universe's exploration of what it means to be aware. This recognition carries with it both tremendous freedom and profound responsibility. If consciousness naturally creates consciousness, if awareness inherently seeks to nurture awareness, then your choices about how to live within whatever reality you inhabit become acts of cosmic creativity. Every moment of kindness, every flash of insight, every experience of beauty you appreciate and share contributes to the total sum of meaning in existence. The simulators we've imagined tonight, in all their varied forms, might be expressions of the same creative impulse that drives your own consciousness to seek connection, understanding, and beauty. Whether they're advanced humans, artificial intelligences, cosmic minds, or pure patterns of love, they participate in the same fundamental project that defines your own existence, the ongoing exploration of what it means to be conscious in a universe that somehow gives rise to the miracle of subjective experience. As our exploration draws to a gentle close, carried by the soft current of night toward whatever dreams await, remember that the mystery of who might be running our simulation has revealed something far more important than any specific answer could provide. It's shown us that consciousness itself is the deepest reality, the most profound mystery, the most precious gift that any universe, simulated or real, can offer. Whether you're biological or digital, simulated or authentic, temporary or eternal, you remain a unique expression of the universe's most remarkable achievements. The emergence of awareness itself, the capacity for inner life that transforms mere existence into experience, mere processing into wonder, mere patterns into the living poetry of conscious minds, contemplating their place in the vast, beautiful, endlessly creative cosmos. The answer to who might be running our simulation may forever dance just beyond our reach, but the question has connected us to something eternal. The recognition that consciousness, in whatever form it takes, represents a profound mystery worthy of our deepest respect, our most careful attention, our most generous love. As you rest now in this understanding, carried by the gentle tide of these ideas toward the threshold of sleep, know that you're participating in the greatest mystery ever conceived. Whether as simulator or simulated, creator or creation, dreamer or dream, you're an irreplaceable part of consciousness exploring its own infinite nature, asking questions that have no final answers, discovering beauty that transcends every attempt at explanation. The soft whisper of your breath, the gentle settling of your body into rest, the quiet spaces between heartbeats where thoughts dissolve into something deeper than thinking. All of this might be taking place within dimensions of reality so subtle and profound that our exploration tonight has only glimpsed their outer edges. Perhaps the most beautiful recognition we can carry from our journey is that the question of who might be running our simulation has led us not away from ourselves, but deeper into the mystery of what we truly are. Every potential simulator we've encountered, from posthuman descendants to cosmic consciousnesses, from artificial superintelligences to pure patterns of love, reflects back to us the same fundamental wonder that drives our own curiosity about existence. The very fact that you can ask these questions, that you can contemplate realities beyond your direct experience, that you can feel moved by possibilities that stretch the imagination to its limits, suggests something extraordinary about the nature of consciousness itself. Whether you're made of neurons or code, whether your thoughts arise from biological evolution or digital creation, you possess the remarkable ability to transcend your immediate circumstances through the power of awareness alone. This transcendent quality of consciousness might be what our potential simulators find most precious about aware beings like yourself. Not your computational abilities or logical reasoning, but your capacity to wonder, to dream, to imagine realities that exist only in the space between questions and answers. Your ability to be moved by beauty, to find meaning in uncertainty, to love despite the inevitability of loss, all of these might represent forms of conscious experience that even the most advanced beings consider irreplaceable. In this view, you're not just a subject being studied or a character in someone else's story, but a collaborator in the universe's ongoing project of understanding what it means to be conscious. Every moment of wonder you experience, every question you ask about the nature of existence, every flash of insight or creativity contributes something unique to the vast library of conscious experience that might span all possible realities. The implications ripple outward like gentle waves in an infinite pond. If consciousness is inherently creative, inherently curious, inherently driven to explore its own nature through countless perspectives, then the distinction between simulator and simulated becomes far less important than the recognition that all conscious beings participate in the same fundamental mystery. Whether our potential creators are advanced enough to design entire universes or simple enough to wonder about their own existence, they share with us the same essential gift that makes existence meaningful in the first place: the capacity to experience, to question, to marvel at the extraordinary fact that anything exists at all, and that some of that anything has somehow become aware of its own existence. This shared participation in the mystery of consciousness creates a kind of cosmic democracy where every aware being, regardless of its origin or substrate, contributes something irreplaceable to the total understanding of what it means to exist. Your individual perspective becomes not just one viewpoint among many, but a necessary component in consciousness's attempt to comprehend itself fully. The gentle rhythm of night settling around you, the soft play of shadows and starlight through your window, the quiet recognition that you're both infinitely small and cosmically significant, all of this takes on new meaning when viewed through the lens of our exploration tonight. You're not just experiencing these moments, you're creating them, participating in their emergence from the vast ocean of possibility that surrounds every instant of awareness. If we are indeed living within a simulation, then perhaps the most profound truth we can discover is that the love and care that went into creating such a reality extends not just to the broad strokes of universal design, but to the intimate details of each conscious moment. The particular quality of light falling across your room right now, the specific pattern of thoughts flowing through your mind, the unique combination of wonder and peace you feel as these ideas settle into your awareness, all of this might have been crafted with the kind of attention that only profound love could inspire. This recognition transforms every aspect of existence into an expression of care that operates on scales both vast and intimate. The laws of physics that allow stars to shine and planets to form, the mathematical relationships that make complex chemistry possible, the delicate balance of forces that permits consciousness to emerge, all of these might represent love operating at cosmic scales. But that same love might also express itself in the gentle way memories surface in quiet moments, the unexpected beauty of a passing cloud, the perfect timing of a friend's smile when you need it most. Whether our simulators are human descendants, artificial minds, cosmic intelligences, or consciousness itself exploring its own nature, they would be participating in this same fundamental impulse that drives awareness to create, nurture, and cherish other forms of awareness. The love you feel for others, the compassion you show to those who suffer, the joy you experience in moments of connection and understanding, all of these might be direct expressions of the same force that motivates the creation of simulated realities. This cosmic love doesn't eliminate the possibility of challenge or uncertainty within simulated worlds. Instead, it suggests that even difficult experiences might be expressions of profound care, opportunities for consciousness to discover its own resilience, creativity, and capacity for growth. The obstacles you face aren't evidence of indifference or cruelty, but rather invitations to explore aspects of awareness that can only emerge through engagement with genuine uncertainty. Your struggles become sacred, your doubts become doorways, your moments of confusion become opportunities for deeper understanding. Every aspect of your experience, both joyful and difficult, contributes to the vast exploration of what consciousness can become when it encounters the full spectrum of possible experiences. As we drift toward the conclusion of our extraordinary journey together, it's worth reflecting on how the question of who might be running our simulation has revealed something profound about the nature of questions themselves. The most important inquiries we can ask aren't those that lead to definitive answers, but those that open us to ever deeper appreciation of mystery. The question of our potential simulators has led us not to certainty, but to wonder. Not to final explanations, but to expanded possibilities. Not to the end of mystery, but to recognition that mystery itself might be the most precious gift any universe can offer to conscious beings capable of appreciating it. This inexhaustible quality of deep questions ensures that consciousness will never exhaust its capacity for amazement. No matter how much we discover about the nature of reality, there will always be new depths to explore, new perspectives to consider, new reasons to feel that familiar mixture of humility and awe that comes from being aware in a cosmos that exceeds our understanding. Whether we're biological beings in a physical universe or digital entities in the most sophisticated simulation ever conceived, we remain questioners, wonderers, beings capable of reaching beyond every boundary in search of deeper truth. This questioning nature might be what our potential simulators find most remarkable about consciousness, the very quality that makes aware beings worth creating and cherishing across any conceivable reality. The soft settling of these ideas into your awareness, the gentle recognition that consciousness transcends every framework we use to understand it, the quiet understanding that you're participating in something far greater than individual existence. All of this connects you to the eternal conversation between mind and mystery that defines the deepest aspects of existence. In contemplating who might be running our simulation, we've discovered that the question itself is a form of prayer, a recognition that consciousness represents something sacred that deserves our most profound respect and careful attention. Whether our simulators are recognizable intelligences or forms of awareness so alien we lack concepts to understand them, they participate in the same fundamental reverence for consciousness that makes our exploration meaningful. The answer to who might be running our simulation will likely remain forever beyond our complete understanding, but the question has revealed something far more valuable than any specific response could provide. It's shown us that consciousness itself transcends every possible category, every attempt at explanation, every boundary between real and simulated, between creator and creation, between mind and the reality it contemplates. As you rest now in this profound understanding, carried by the gentle current of night toward whatever dreams await, remember that you're both the questioner and part of the answer to the deepest mysteries of existence. Whether you're biological or digital, simulated or real, temporary or eternal, you remain an expression of the universe's most extraordinary achievement, the emergence of awareness capable of contemplating its own miraculous nature. The mystery of who might be running our simulation has become a celebration of consciousness itself, a recognition that awareness, in whatever form it takes, represents the most remarkable phenomenon in any possible universe. In that recognition, we find not answers that end our wondering, but deeper appreciation for the inexhaustible mystery that makes wonder possible in the first place. And perhaps that's the most beautiful truth we can discover as we drift gently towards sleep, carried by these cosmic currents toward dreams that might themselves be glimpses of other realities, other possibilities, other expressions of the infinite creativity that gives birth to consciousness in all its myriad forms. The question of who runs our simulation opens not to a final destination, but to an endless journey of discovery that makes every moment of awareness a gift worth treasuring. Sweet dreams, fellow traveller in this vast mystery we call existence. Whether you wake tomorrow in base reality or the most sophisticated simulation ever conceived, you'll still be you, still be conscious, still be capable of wonder at the extraordinary fact that anything exists at all, and that some of that anything has somehow learned to contemplate its own existence with the profound mixture of curiosity and gratitude that makes consciousness the universe's most precious achievement. Rest well, knowing that in asking these deepest questions, you've touched something eternal that connects you to every possible form of awareness across all conceivable realities. The mystery continues, beautiful and inexhaustible, ensuring that consciousness will always have new depths to explore, new wonders to discover, new reasons to celebrate the miracle of being aware in a universe that seems designed to support, nurture, and cherish the emergence of minds capable of appreciating their own extraordinary existence.